Terraria is full of subclasses, and one of the most famous is the yo-yo. A kid's toy normally used for just simple tricks used to defeat monstrous deities. But is it possible to beat the game with only yo-yos on the For the Worthy Secret Seed on Legendary difficulty? Well, to answer that question, I set out on a brand new world. I cut down some trees, and wood is going to be a very necessary material, but we can't quite use it yet for what I want. I traveled down a cave with bombs dropping out of pots due to the For the Worthy changes, and what I was looking for down here were some cobwebs, and I quickly found some attached to a cave, and I could make my first yo-yo, the wooden yo-yo. Now, this yo-yo is not very good, especially on Legendary difficulty. It does very little damage. It has basically no range on it, but at least we can do damage. It just takes forever to kill even the most pitiful slime. Now, yo-yo progression is very weird. The next yo-yo I can get is actually the evil yo-yo. I actually end up making a sawmill and a loom to make a white string accessory, which extends the range of my yo-yo. I found a whole bunch of platinum, so I was able to make the platinum pickaxe. Now I just need to find some crimtane, but I brutally die, and I die again, and again, and again. The wooden yo-yo is not doing me any favors. I find a glowing mushroom biome, I get my first life crystal, and I do find some crimtane ore. Unfortunately, it's not quite enough for the yo-yo, so I have to keep searching. I find a couple more life crystals, and then I actually find the skeleton merchant. Now, he sells colored counterweights, such as this purple one, which is a yo-yo accessory, and I really wanted it, but it's quite expensive, and I don't have any money on me. And the problem was that he will despawn if I leave, so I mined a bunch of copper to sell to him, but it got me nowhere near the amount I needed. I could have sold my crimtane for the money, but I didn't want to do that because I almost have enough for the yo-yo. So I basically just made him follow me and tried to find something to sell, and after coercing him down into a glowing mushroom biome, I found a bunch of platinum ore to sell him, and now I could get the green counterweight. I'm pretty sure that was purple before, but whatever. Pleasure doing business, sir. And then, of course, I find a bunch of crimtane veins next to each other, so I have way more than enough to make the artery yo-yo. I also had enough platinum to make full platinum armor, and now I'm basically just searching for more life crystals to max out my health, and then slime starts falling from the sky. With the artery, I might be able to defeat the king slime, but I'm not liking my chances, and the king slime jumps right onto me and kills me instantly. And then the night following that, an evil presence is watching over me. Now, this I might actually be able to do. I buff up, utilize my featherfall potion, which helps a bunch against this boss. Now, the artery is okay against the Eye of Cthulhu. It's not great. It does clear out the servants pretty easily, but the damage against the eye isn't fantastic. It's just fine. Now, I know I can get the Amazon yo-yo right now. You can get it right off the bat, but I didn't want to do that right away. I keep beating the Eye of Cthulhu with a yo-yo. This disgusting monstrosity has nothing compared to my kid's toy. It's approaching halfway through the night, and I've just now gotten the Eye of Cthulhu to about half health, so it's not looking great, but the eye gets a bit more aggressive now, which means hopefully I can hit it more consistently, but that's not necessarily the case. It's actually quite hard to hit the eye when it's dashing like that, but luckily we are doing big damage to it. I'm kind of ignoring the servants and just letting them be on their own because they're so slow. There's a big train of them after me, and then I just mince them. The eye's pretty low now, and just like that, with a ton of health to spare, the Eye of Cthulhu has pretty easily been defeated. Now, that may have not been too hard, but it did take forever. Yo-yo damage, at least right now, is kinda mid. I then headed down into the underground desert, and I found a bar statue right away. I also found an ancient chisel, which will help for exploration, a magic conch, another bar statue, and a heart statue. Now the goblin army arrived, which is kinda what I wanted. I do want a tinker's bench and rocket boots, so I do have to endure the pain of the goblins. I was just whacking the goblins with my yo-yo with middling damage, but I could kind of just cheese them with the yo-yo. Because of that, I actually didn't die a single time in the whole goblin invasion. It did take forever, and by the time it was done, it was already nighttime, but I didn't die, so that's big. I then found the goblin tinkerer with a hunter potion and found out that the goblins had bound him on a pressure plate rigged to a boulder. They want this man dead. But now with the tinker's workshop, I made specter boots, and I then headed over to the jungle to hopefully make the Amazon. I started collecting a bunch of jungle loot. Now, as I expected, this wasn't easy, and eventually after throwing myself at all the jungle enemies, I got the Amazon. This is the best yo-yo I can get right now, excluding the code one, which is sold by the traveling merchant, but that is just complete luck, and I'm not even gonna bother with that. And now I'm going back to the jungle in search of a sharpening station, and after forever, I finally find it. And then while I'm on the outer third of the map, the king slime randomly jumps me. Hopefully we can actually beat it this time. I keep just strafing left and right, hoping that it won't jump on me, but then he teleports onto me and kills me. I hate this boss so much. I then dug down with my fast digging speed and ended up in the shimmer and started doing some shimmer crafting. Then the traveling merchant came and wasn't selling the yo-yo, so I murdered him for his hat. I then managed to find the rally yo-yo, which would have been nice earlier on, but it's completely useless now. It's like a step up from the wooden yo-yo. It's not very good. I then started searching the cavern layer, hoping to get a lava charm so I could shimmer it into a magma stone. This took me ages, and I kept searching and I just couldn't find one, so it was a big waste of time. Eventually, I gave up on it and decided to fight the Brain of Cthulhu. I drank an Inferno potion, which I actually found in the cavern layer looking for the magma stones, to inflict fire on the creepers. If you're gonna say that it's not a yo-yo, then I just don't know what to say. I don't care. Also, I am using the Shield of Cthulhu in this playthrough. I don't normally do that on challenge runs, but this is a yo-yo only challenge run, so it is technically melee. I feel like it's not that much of a stretch to use the Shield of Cthulhu just for dashing. If you have a problem with that, then send me your hate on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @CJDeathbot. I may get back to you within 5 business days. Eventually, all the creepers of the Brain of Cthulhu are dead, and it's flipped me upside down, and now it's just the Brain and his illusions, and I'm looking okay. I'm at like over 300 health, then I get hit once, I'm down to over 200 health, and then I just get 2 shot by the Brain, and I'm dead. It does so much freaking damage. But luckily, I got a bunch of tissue samples, which allowed me to make the Deathbringer pickaxe. With the Hellstone and the Hellforge that I got, I can make some Hellstone armor for a massive increase on defense. I then spawned in the Brain once again, and he ends up killing me again with only 1,000 health left. And that was with Hellstone armor. The Brain of Cthulhu is so freaking hard. But I then realized the only benefit I get from actually beating the Brain right now is the Brain of Confusion accessory, which is a great accessory, but I don't necessarily need that to beat the next boss, which will actually benefit me a ton, the Queen Bee. Now, the Reds potion that I consumed actually managed to give me a Life Force potion, so I do have extra health for 30 minutes, which is very nice. And now the yo-yo is actually quite good against the Queen Bee, especially when she's standing still. I can get some big damage in. I keep whacking her with the yo-yo. Not too much is happening. I'm still full health until she starts dashing. I lose a bit of health. I am using the Shield of Cthulhu dash to counter her dashes. Now, it doesn't work perfectly all the time, especially when her dashes start to speed up. It's much harder to hit those dashes. But now Queen Bee is under quarter health, and we're doing big damage to her. I continuously counter her dashes when I can. I get a heal off. We're looking good. The Queen Bee is now under 1,000 health, and as you can see, those dashes, there's no way that I could counter those with the Shield of Cthulhu. And I end up actually dying, but killing her at the exact same time. But with the Queen Bee defeated, I can now make the Hive 5 yo-yo. This is a fantastic yo-yo, and honestly, probably the best of pre-hard mode. It was added in 1.4.4, and it's just so good. And I challenged the Brain once again. This time, hopefully we can beat it with the Hive 5 and the Bee Pack accessory, boosting the damage of the bees that come out of the yo-yo. But for some reason, the Brain didn't switch over to its second phase when I thought it would. I'd killed all the creepers, so that ended up killing me. I opened up my arena some more. I know I can fight him on the surface, but honestly, I just couldn't be bothered setting up a surface arena. This one's going much smoother, but everything can fly out the window very quickly in this fight. I just gotta make sure I'm hitting the right one. I need to be really quick with my yo-yo reactions. But finally, the Brain of Cthulhu has fallen to me with the Hive 5 yo-yo. And now it's time for none other than Skeletron. Now, the Hive 5 is honestly one of the best weapons to use against Skeletron. I actually used it in my previous playthrough. We're doing big damage. The Flask of Fire, which I got because we had the Witch Doctor, is also helping with damage over time. And we're not looking too good, but eventually both hands are down for Skeletron. And now the Darkcasters are spawning, which is very scary. And Skeletron flings his skull into me and I die. Now, I started that fight pretty late anyway, so I didn't think I was gonna win. And the Traveling Merchant came and I bought a bunch of Sake, which increases my damage and my melee speed. I also bought a bunch of Dynasty Wood, and that'll come into play later in the playthrough. We then attempt Skeletron again. His hands are pretty easily destroyed, and now it's just the skull and the Darkcasters. And we're doing much better this time. The Featherfall potion is helping us keep our distance, dodging the homing skulls when they come out, and then just running away when his skull is spinning. The Darkcasters weren't too much of an issue, honestly. My bees might have been taking care of him or something. I don't know. But the damage to Skeletron was insane. We were absolutely destroying him. And on almost full health, Skeletron has been vanquished. I then ventured into the dungeon, hoping for an alchemy station, which I got pretty quick. And I also wanted to find a Valor Yo-Yo. Now, I'm probably not going to use it because the Hive 5 is just better, but it's just nice to have as a collection thing. And I found it in a chest right next to the desert chest. I then farmed a bunch of imps with an imp statue, all for a bunch of imp banners, and then I got to work on my funnel. This took forever. It was just building and mining, and I just can't stress how annoying it is to have to build, mine, and kill enemies with my yo-yo, while having to deal with voodoo demons, which sometimes fall in the lava and spawn the wall of flesh early. I actually ended up getting the Cascade yo-yo, dropped from a hell enemy. Now, this used to be the final yo-yo of pre-hard mode, but honestly, the Hive 5 is just kind of better. Now, a new strategy that I used for the funnel is the dirt bombs, and that really helped save time. It still took forever, but it did help. I then set up my minecart track in the middle of the funnel. I decided I was gonna actually fight the King Slime now, and with no surprises, I absolutely destroyed the King Slime and did it no hit. I then set up the imp banners across my funnel, and then I spawned in the wall of flesh with my finished funnel. It was not finished. I forgot one very important aspect of it and died very quickly. So I then set up my dart traps, which immobilized the imps. I spawned in the wall of flesh, got a bit of distance so that the imps would spawn where I want them to spawn, switched off some accessories that I didn't need, and got to work. Now, it took a while to kill all the hungries. There was a big cluster of them, but eventually they were dead, and I could start hitting the wall of flesh, but unfortunately, the hungry just grow back. So what I eventually decided to do was hit the hungries so that they'd be knocked back, and then get some hits in with the yo-yo behind it, because I can decide exactly where the yo-yo goes. I can just ignore the hungry and go straight to the wall of flesh. This was working pretty well. I actually made a ton of funnel space, but it doesn't go forever, so I do need to speed it up. The wall of flesh is now under half health. The hungry are getting knocked back enough. It is speeding up a ton now, but it's almost dead. We just keep hitting it with the Hive 5, and we run out of funnel space, but the wall dies right when I run out. We made the perfect amount of funnel space, and now we are in hard mode. The first thing I did in hard mode was smash some crimson altars, and then I went mining for some of the hard mode ores, and what I was also looking for was a skeleton merchant, which I finally found, and I was able to buy the Format C yo-yo, which is an improvement, and the yo-yo glove accessory, which gives me a second yo-yo. Combine that with a yo-yo string and a counterweight, and I can make the yo-yo bag, which is our ultimate yo-yo accessory. Now, the Format C is okay. There's actually a better yo-yo that's sold by the skeleton merchant in hard mode for some reason, but I then made my way into the underground hallowed, collecting crystals and souls of light, and with the hallowed ingredients, I made the chick yo-yo. Now, this yo-yo is one of the best early hard mode yo-yos, but then it starts raining, which means if I go to the snow, it's going to be a blizzard. In the blizzard, ice golems spawn, so I decided to farm them. I was mainly just farming them for the ice feather, and from the last ice golem in the blizzard, I got the ice feather. I then made a slime crown and spawned in the king slime in the ice biome. I beat him, and then I spawned him in again. And just like I wanted, one of the slimes that spawned from the king slime dropped the Amarok yo-yo. This is a complete upgrade from the chick, and is slightly better than the Hellfire yo-yo, which is found in hell in hard mode. Now, this is technically the best yo-yo that I can get right now. The gradient does more damage, but doesn't inflict a debuff, and the code 2 is sold by the traveling merchant, which is just luck. With the frost cores that I got, I made a frost chest plate, and I shimmered some orichalcum ore to make some mithril ore so that I could get mithril leggings. And with that and the adamantite helmet that I made earlier, I now have optimized mixing armor for damage and survivability. And then I set up an artificial corruption biome. This was to get two things, ebon koi and worm food. I then turned on a texture pack from Neville Seco Shard, who made a pack of creator plushies for a ton of different Terraria content creators, me included. And I wanted to find my plushie. I searched far and wide for mine, and all I was met with was Happy Days plushie. Sure, great, just taunt me with the fact that Happy Days is the biggest and will probably always be the biggest Australian Terraria YouTuber. I searched the entirety of hell, but not one CJ Deathbot plushie. Am I gonna lava fish for it? No, so whatever. I then spawned in the Eater of Worlds, and I may have died to him. Listen, it's hard. It's a lot of vile spit. But I fought him again and beat him pretty easily this time with an actual platform. And now with my Wrath Potions and Worm Scarf that I didn't end up using, it's time to fight the twins. Now, this shouldn't be too bad. We do have the range against the twins, and the Amarok Yo-Yo is quite good. It's just the For the Worthy twins hit pretty hard, and they're quite difficult because of their size difference. But I just keep hitting them with my yo-yo. Not much to say until Spasmatism gets to second phase. Now things are kind of scary. With the Shield of Cthulhu dash though, I do have a lot of movement options to dodge Spaz. I just need to make sure I'm not in his vicinity when he starts doing his cursed flames spewing. But Spasmatism hits me directly, which does a ton of damage to me. And with Spasmatism pretty low, he hits me again for 250 damage. That's why For the Worthy twins are so hard. And then my favorite, Pirates Invade. So I have to deal with this. I actually end up cheesing it quite a bit, which was completely fine until there was a pirate captain and his ghost killed me. I ended up getting a discount card though, which is very nice. And I finally endured the entirety of the pirate invasion. And I set up a couple heart statues for a little bit more survivability. And I spawned in the twins again. again. I do lose a bunch of health throughout the fight. I'm down to like 100 health, but luckily I regenerate some of my health back. But things aren't looking too good. I get Spasmatism down to second phase, but I am very low on health now. But I just keep my distance, hoping not to get hit by a contact hit, because if I do, I'm just dead. But eventually I end up getting my health back to basically full, and from hitting Spasmatism when he's dashing at me, I finally defeat Spasmatism, and now it's just Retinazer, but it is past halfway through the night, so I'm gonna have to kill Retinazer pretty quickly. But luckily, Retinazer is much easier to hit than Spasmatism, so I get him down to second phase very quickly, and I just keep whacking him with my yo-yo, doing big damage, and pretty dang easily, Retinazer is defeated, and the first mechanical boss is now down. I make a hallowed helmet to replace my adamantite helmet, finally contaminate my desert, which was completely corrupted, and then I head over to the jungle and start murdering some jungle enemies. This is in the hopes of getting the Yellets, which is a yo-yo dropped after a mechanical boss had been defeated in the jungle or underground jungle, with a 1 in 200 chance of dropping, same chances as the Amarok. After a lot of grinding and getting more turtle shells than I need, I actually ended up going down into the underground jungle, hoping that there'd be more spawn rate down there. I do end up getting a tattered B-wing, and I grind more of the surface, and finally a Derpling drops the Yellets. This isn't necessarily the best yo-yo I can get at this point. There's actually 2 yo-yos that I can get that are luck dependent, the Red's Throw and the Valkyrie yo-yo. These are both from dev sets, which have a chance of dropping from treasure bags, but I didn't want to grind mechanical bosses just to get it. The Yellets will do just fine. And then a solar eclipse rises. Now this is pre-Plantera, so I can't really get much from this. I do end up getting a moonstone though, which is a pretty good accessory at this stage. And then I searched the underground jungle to find life fruits. This was to get Aegis fruit and maximize my health. Eventually I got full 500 health, and then I spawned in the Destroyer. I wanted to see if I could cheese the Destroyer and kill it really quick while it was balled up. Turns out, holy freaking crap, yes I can. I absolutely decimate the Destroyer. I don't know why he spawns in a ball, but it just completely shredded him. He was dead in no time. And that's the Destroyer defeated. But I decided I wanted to beat it not cheesed, so I spawned it in again. Even though I could have attacked its ball right off bat, I didn't. I completely ignored it. I want to show that the yo-yos actually are pretty good against the Destroyer, even without cheesing. But still, the Destroyer's segments kept interweaving with each other, so I was able to do big damage on the intersections. And very quickly, the Destroyer is defeated once again, this time no cheese. I then made a bunch of Dynasty dresses, put them on my platforms to make sure that my platforms don't get destroyed by Skeletron Prime. I'm not worrying too much about the hands, although they would be nice to get rid of. I just want to target the head and get him dead as soon as possible. And I'm absolutely doing a ton of damage. The heart statues are helping a lot with getting my health back up, but obviously they're on a cooldown. And I just kept my distance from Prime. Things were going perfectly fine, and I defeat Skeletron Prime without even getting close to destroying one of his hands. I then used my incredible mining speed to dig up a bunch of chlorophyte ore, and with the chlorophyte ore, I made turtle armor, and still had 4 turtle shells to spare. Now, throughout this playthrough, I've been collecting dye ingredients to make sure that I can get the right color string that I want, and also in an attempt to get rainbow string. So I went to the ice biome just to find the cyan beetle, which is harder to get in hard mode considering all the other enemies that spawn. I also wanted to kill ice tortoises to get the frozen shell, and I spent a long time here just hoping for a cyan beetle to spawn, but eventually one fell right into my grass, and with that I was able to make all the gradient dyes to make the rainbow dye, which turns into the rainbow string, and now my yo-yo string is rainbow. Was it worth farming all those rare enemies just to get a rainbow string? Yes, it looks fantastic. I started bombing a tunnel for Plantera, setting up some teleporters, and then I spawned her in. Now this was quite a bit further away from my arena, so I led her back to it, and then I started doing damage. Now this arena is tiny. This was my Queen Bee arena. I didn't even touch it, but it doesn't need to be big. First phase is really easy. You really don't need much space at all to beat Plantera's first phase. I just kept going in circles, doing damage until Plantera dropped to second phase. Then I initiate the Osagoth tunnel strategy. I just start falling down, swinging my yo-yo at her, past all the vibrating tendrils, and doing damage straight to her. We're doing pretty big damage, but unluckily for me, this Osagoth tunnel ran straight into the Lizard Temple, so I didn't have a ton of space to work with, so I couldn't kill her in time, and there was a bunch of spiky balls bouncing on my teleporter, but I was able to get on it, take a hit, but teleport back up past her, and now I need to start flying up. For some reason, it seems she was enraged right there, but she's fine now. All I'm really doing is just trying to get back to the main arena, and then once she's there, I maneuver my way around her and get back into the Osagoth tunnel. I keep hitting her like I was before, but I quickly get down to the bottom of the arena again, so I have to rinse and repeat, but this time time, I'm actually hitting her while she's below me, and just like that, with her basically inside me at the end, Plantera has been defeated. Now with Plantera defeated, I headed into the post-Plantera dungeon, and I very quickly got the Kraken Yo-Yo. Now this Yo-Yo is kind of weird in progression. It is really good, but it is completely outclassed by another Yo-Yo you can get at the same stage, which we'll get soon, but it's a nice Yo-Yo to use to get to that Yo-Yo. But that's not really the reason I went into the dungeon. I mainly just wanted Master Ninja gear. I ended up getting a black belt really quickly. I also want a Paladin's shield if I can get it. So I then spent way too much of my life farming dungeon enemies, hoping to get a tabby, which finally dropped. And with that now acquired, I can make the Master Ninja gear. I then headed right into the Lizard Temple with my Kraken Yo-Yo, looted as much chests as I could in this massive labyrinth, and then spawned in the Solar Eclipse. Mothrons are actually what I need to get the next Yo-Yo. So I wait for one to spawn, use my epic tricks to destroy Mothron. She's got no chance for 2 Yo-Yos in her face. And the first one I kill drops the Eye of Cthulhu Yo-Yo, our final Yo-Yo. That's right. This is the last Yo-Yo in progression. I don't really know why there isn't another one, maybe like a Martian Yo-Yo or a Solar Yo-Yo, but regardless, this is it. And it is really good. The Eye of Cthulhu has infinite spin time, does massive damage, and has a lot of range. And I hoist my way into the Lizard Temple, saving me from wanting to tear my hair out of my scalp because of how large these holes are. And then I pulled out my paint roller and started painting illuminant paint all over the temple. This time, I'm actually gonna do it in the temple room. I'm gonna try to. This temple room is actually decently sized, all things considered, and I spawned him in. Now, the For the Worthy Golem is, as per usual, very difficult. The fireballs bounce around like crazy. The room's pretty small, so they bounce a lot, and he jumps around very quickly, and this is really hard to dodge. And I got his fist relatively low and did some good damage to him, but I ended up actually dying on my first attempt. I spawned him in again. This time I brought obsidian skin potions, which actually make you immune to the fire debuff that the golem inflicts with the fireballs, which is really helpful. The Yo-Yo is kind of difficult to hit the golem with, but there are points when I can do some big damage if I get it in the right spot. It's just the golem being so small makes it really hard to hit him consistently. But I actually ended up destroying both of the golem's fists, and now it's just his body, which with it only being single target and small, this is even harder to do damage to. But eventually the head detaches from the body, and now I just need to kill the body. But I'm taking quite a large amount of damage. I am doing good damage to the golem though, and unfortunately I end up succumbing to the golem, but it was really close. Now because the head was harder to see when it was detached from the body, I ended up illuminating it, so now the whole room is illuminated, and I spawn in the golem once more. This time the fists are destroyed pretty easily. The head detaches from the body. After a while, this fight takes absolutely forever, but I just keep hitting the body with my yo-yos, and towards the end of the fight, I get contact hit multiple times, but I unleash my final strikes onto the golem, and it has finally been defeated. One of the hardest bosses in For the Worthy. I then fought him again trying to get a sunstone, but ended up dying with it down pretty low. I fought the golem again, defeated it, and it didn't drop a sunstone. I made some beetle armor for maximum protection, fought him again, no sunstone. I then grabbed the lizard altar and decided to fight the golem on the surface. Now he doesn't rage up here, but there's a lot more space. But obviously when he's up on the surface, his hops are crazy. He jumps really high. But I kept fighting it, and eventually, and I mean eventually, this fight took forever, it's defeated, and I got an Eye of the Golem, which is good, but it's not what I wanted. And I fought golem after golem after golem. Before I started this, I had over 20 lizard power cells, and I'm just breaking through them. One of the golem treasure bags actually grants me the Valkyrie Yo-Yo, which obviously isn't as good as the Eye of Cthulhu at this stage, but it's nice for the collection. And I keep fighting golems. The fights take ridiculously long time, and after over 2 hours of fighting the golem, wasting my life away, getting a bunch of money that I don't need, I didn't even end up getting a sunstone. All I wanted was a celestial shell. That's all I wanted. Was it even worth doing all that? No. I hate the golem so much. So I gave up. I'm not gonna farm for lizard power cells. So I moved right on to the Empress of Light. And honestly, the damage against the Empress, it wasn't that bad. I was expecting pretty bad damage, and it's not great by any means, but it's definitely one of the better melee weapons you can use against her. Her contact hits do a ton of damage, but we have beetle armor, so we can kind of tank it. Doesn't mean we should though. I keep whacking the butterfly with my Eye of Cthulhu Yo-Yo. She's completely impressed with my sick tricks. In second phase, she's not too much of an issue. As long as I'm not getting hit by like the everlasting rainbow or anything like that, I should be good. I can dodge between the sun dance, do some big damage. So yeah, this fight took a while, but eventually it did enough damage to just scrape by a victory against the Empress of Light with not too much time in the night left to spare. There's only two things I would have wanted from the Empress of Light. One of them is guaranteed, the Soaring Insignia, of course, and the Empress Wings, which I didn't end up getting. But I then went down to the Glowing Mushroom biome and collected some truffle worms and prepared to fight Duke Fishron. The Eye of Cthulhu yo-yo is honestly okay against Duke Fishron. It's not fantastic, it's not perfect, but it does the job, I suppose. The fight takes quite a while. Eventually, he gets down to second phase, and it's not too much different, just a little bit more hectic. With the Soaring Insignia, though, I'm not too worried. Infinite Flight is very nice for this fight, and eventually he's down to third phase. Now, this is where things can go really badly, but as long as I time my dashes and just go up and down, I should be fine. He's on a rhythm of 1 dash, then 2 dashes, and then 3 dashes, and then goes back and repeats it. So as long as I'm counting it, it should be fine. And just like that, with pretty mid damage, Duke Fishron has fallen. And he had literally nothing I wanted except the wings, which I did not get. So I ended up fighting him again and dying in third phase. And again, then I decided to fight the Empress again, which took absolutely forever. Once again, obviously, not much has changed besides the fact that I can fly infinitely. And I killed her, but no wings. So I decided to go back to Duke, who killed me again, but I beat him once again and no wings. Died again to him. I fought Empress again and died to her again. I was just going back and forth. Duke Fishron, Empress of Light, and then Deerclops randomly spawned at midnight on me. Now this fight is gonna be difficult. I tanked some hits. I'm taking some damage. Things are looking a little rough. I actually ended up taking 100 damage, definitely from Deerclops. That's where that damage source came from, 100%. But on the skin of my teeth, Deerclops is defeated. Now with the hardest boss in the game defeated, I feel like $1,000,000. So I go back to the Empress and die to her. I fight Duke again, beat him, and nothing. And once again I die. And again. And I die. And then I finally, after 3,000 years, get the Duke Fishron wings. Now I can live in peace. Let's go! And the Martian probe decides he wants to ruin my fun, and I say nay. Off with your head. Alright, now with the Duke Fishron wings, I have nothing else to do but progress. And to do that, I must defeat the Lunatic Cultist. Now this fight isn't too hard. Most of the stuff you can face tank as a melee player, but you can't get too arrogant as some of his attacks do massive damage. But the yo-yo is doing relatively decent damage to the cultist. I keep making sure to hit the right cultist. Try not to get hit by the Ancient Light or the purple attack. I hit the right cultist once again. Things are looking perfectly fine. I'm full health. I just dodged the Ancient Lights. He does one last trickery, but I identify the right one, and then he pulls out his Ancient Light and insta-kills me. They do over 300 damage each, but I fight him again, and this time things go completely perfectly. No dragons were summoned, and now celestial creatures are invading. I went straight to the Stardust Pillar first. I decided to mostly cheese it. Now, it was not too easy because they were replicating more than I could take care of. The yo-yo wasn't doing enough damage against them to actually keep them at bay, but it didn't take long to defeat enough for the shield barrier to come down, and now I can attack the Stardust Pillar, and now we can move on to the Nebula Pillar. With the Nebula Pillar, I actually decided to cheese it at least as much as I could. If you build a little arrangement like this, most of the time the enemies can't hit you, but now the shield is down, and we can move on to the Vortex Pillar. Now, this one is pretty dang easy to cheese. I just boxed myself in and used my yo-yo through a hole in the wall to do big damage to him, and once I had killed enough enemies, I could literally hit the pillar from here. Now, with the Solar Pillar, I tried to cheese it. It wasn't going perfectly because the enemies sometimes would fall down and then jump at me, which was crazy, and there was a Sky Island nearby, but eventually the Solar Pillar was destroyed. Unfortunately, though, I can't get anything from Solar Fragments, but I did make some super healing potions and prepared for the Moonlord fight. The Moonlord spawns in, I hit the top eye a little bit, and then move straight to the left eye. The yo-yo is okay against the Moonlord. It's doing decent damage, especially with the yo-yo bag. I make sure not to get hit by the top eye. The Duke Fishron wings give enough verticality with the Soaring Insignia to completely dodge it. I go back to the left eye, and then straight back to the top eye once it's open, dealing big damage to it, dodging the Death Laser as per usual. I'm making sure to hit the leeches as well. I don't want him regenerating health, and I just go from eye to eye. I switch it up to the right eye to balance out the damage. Now, this was taking a long time, pretty mid damage all around, but I've done much worse. Now, the top eye is getting actually pretty low here, lower than the right hand, so I need to dish out some more damage to that. But since the Moonlord's top eye has the most health of any of the eyes, I need to hit it as soon as it's out. And after quite a while, the top eye has finally fallen out of the socket, and now we need to destroy the other eyes. The left eye falls first. I make sure to dodge the True Eye of Cthulhu's laser, and now the right eye has fallen out, and I can hit the core. Now, this might be a bit difficult, considering that the yo-yo is quite short range, and I like to fight the Moonlord in this phase at a range. Things were just not going well. I was doing no damage to the core, and the True Eye of Cthulhu's were mincing me. I took a few hits, and I just couldn't take the damage. I recalled home to try and reset things, and then I just died. So that didn't go so well, but I wanted to change up an accessory, so I went down into the snow biome in an attempt to get an accessory that I wanted a long time ago, and after a bunch of grinding ice tortoises, I finally got the frozen turtle shell. Now I need to head into the dungeon and hopefully get a paladin's shield from a paladin. I got many paladin's hammers, which was ridiculous. Getting back-to-back paladin's hammers and no paladin's shield is just freaking typical, isn't it? But justice is finally served, and I get the paladin's shield. Now we're gonna attempt the Moonlord again. Things go pretty smoothly. I do the same thing, attacking the hands and the top eye when it's open. After quite a while, all three eyes have popped out of the socket, and at this point, I realize that I can just basically run at this speed exactly, and the Eye of Cthulhu yo-yo can reach the Moonlord's core, and if I just keep going the same direction, the True Eye of Cthulhu's mostly can't hit me, except for maybe that eye circle attack, but it only does like 60 damage to me, so it's not that big a deal. I hit the leeches when they're out. I don't want him regenerating health, and we're just chipping away at the core. The Eye of Cthulhu yo-yo is doing enough damage to it that we will be able to kill it. I keep going across my entire map, just outrunning the True Eye of Cthulhu's, and with that, we have defeated the Moonlord on yo-yo only legendary mode for the worthy, and it wasn't even that hard. And our reward for it is a Star Wrath and a Lunar Portal. Not exactly the final yo-yo I wanted, but hey, we still beat it. But the playthrough isn't over yet. I actually do want to get the final yo-yo. So I fought the Moonlord again, defeated it pretty dang easily. It did take a while, but it wasn't hard. And I got the SDMG and the Crystal Staff. I fight the Moonlord again. I have the Celestial Starboard, which gives me insane mobility. And once again, defeat it without any real issues. But unfortunately, no yo-yo. And now I can't spawn in the Moonlord, so I have to fight the Cultist again. And then all 4 pillars. But with the Solar Pillar defeated, I could actually make a full set of solar armor, which is a huge buff from our beetle armor and will help immensely. I fight the Moonlord once again, no yo-yo, and again with no yo-yo, and I've got one last sigil to use. So I get to work on the Moonlord, and with the final treasure bag of the Moonlord, we get the final yo-yo, the best yo-yo in the entire game, the Terrarian. I actually didn't end up beating the Queen Slime, so I decided to test the Terrarian on her, and it absolutely decimated her. This yo-yo is so good. I wish there was a yo-yo anywhere near its power during the playthrough. I then decided for the fun of it, I'll try and beat Daytime Empress with the Terrarian. The damage was quite unreal. I get her down to under 3,000 health and die to her. So while I'm waiting for it to be daytime, I fight the Frost Moon event, trying to get the last relics that I need. I absolutely destroy everything in it with my Terrarian, and I get the relics that I wanted. Then I fight the Daytime Empress, dodging her with my Celestial Starboard, and in no time, it has been defeated, and I get the Terra Prisma, which obviously I can't use, but it looks nice hung up next to all my yo-yos. And we're basically done the playthrough at this point, but there's a few more relics that I wanted. So I fought the Martian Madness event, absolutely decimated the UFO. Then I fought the Old One's army for all the Old One's army relics, including the Betsy relic. And of course, I got the Betsy's wings instantly. And I did the Pumpkin Moon event, got the relic from the Pumpkin and the Morning Wood. And now we have every last relic in the entire game. Now, did I get every single yo-yo I could get in progression? No. There's a few that I missed because some of them were sold by the traveling merchant and I just didn't get lucky, and I don't want to just sleep and wait for them to come. That is not fun. And also Red's yo-yo, which I could grind for, but I just don't want to. It's such a low chance of obtaining. But there is one yo-yo that I completely forgot existed, and I do want to farm for it to get it. It completely went over my mind. And after farming a bunch of hell enemies for 20 minutes, a lava slime drops the Hellfire, a yo-yo that is at the same tier as the Amarok, but just worse. worse. And with that, I hung up my final yo-yo and said goodbye to my yo-yo only world. And I appreciate you guys for coming along the ride. This was quite a bit of fun. I haven't done yo-yo only before, so doing it on legendary mode was definitely a challenge, but entirely possible. Would I recommend it? Maybe not. It's not the best damage source, but it is quite a bit of fun. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.